train is running.
And I'll say Evan.
That's good. You score, but I don't have to.
It's a win.
Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1.
And we won. It was amazing.
Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1.
All right. Hello. Happy Saturday. Fins up, everyone. I'm Bobby Fins Talk. That's the one and only Fish Tank Hank, and you're watching Fins Talk today on the Fins Talk Sports Network. Fish Tank, what's up, my brother?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is another sunny day here in Florida. I'm chilling out with the cat. The wife is gone. She's out in Oregon doing her thing. So she's probably going to watch this today. So if you're watching, good morning.
Good morning, Kelly. There you go. Oh, man. Hey, today it's official. It's like Christmas right now for me. We're close to the Christmas. It is officially draft week. You got your draft hat on.
Yeah, I got my Christmas present early. Look at that, my draft hat.
Love it. Love it. It's official. We are 6 days away. It's Saturday. Thursday is the round one of the NFL draft. And you would think, of course, the network will be covering every day of the draft, every pick. But as Dolphin fans, you might go, I don't have to worry about the first round. Well, let's slow down and hold on a second, because Chris Greer has kind of thrown a little bit of sauce out there. And now you got some people intrigued and going, wait a minute. So we're going to touch on that and tell you why maybe Dolphin fans should be paying attention to the first round. Daniel Meehan in the house. Great to see you, brother. He was with us last night. Bobby and Hank, if there's no trade back, what are the two positions we draft? You know what, Daniel? Since we haven't started yet, let's answer that right now. Fish Tank, if there's no trade back, or let's say trade up, we're at 51. Don't have to say the player, but two positions that Miami could draft with pick 51. What do you say?
Yeah, there are several good players that are there at 51. And, you know, Miami's sitting in a great spot to just sit tight and let it all fall to them.
That's right.
To be totally honest with you, there's only three players that I think that I like on a higher scale than where Miami's sitting.
Okay, so what you're talking about is a possible situation. If Miami could sit down at 51, sit at 51, wait it out, there are three players that you like. Before we get into the trade up comments, the two positions that you would focus on. I know you are about offensive tackle. You've talked about that. So I would assume one of those positions, as Daniel's bringing up, is offensive line, right?
Yep.
What's the other position at 51 that if it's not offensive line, it has to be this position for you? What would make Hank happy?
Tight end.
Okay, there you go.
Tight end is huge. I mean, Miami needs OT and a tight end, in my opinion, or an OG. So
there you go, an OG. Okay, and so let me say I'm with Fish Tank in regards of a tight end, and I think Marvin Allen kind of let the cat out of the bag that the Dolphins are really looking into tight ends. and his press conference with Chris Greer when they were talking about the trade up and all that, and when they were his admiration for the tight end class, how deep it is, and really getting a good player. So I think tight end is definitely there. I'd say tight end or running back. That's what I would say. One of those two positions for me at 51. But trading up, and the reason why we're talking about trade ups, Fish Tank, Chris Greer, he brought up that it wasn't the Dolphins haven't called any teams. Teams are calling Dolphins and saying, hey, would you be interested in trading up into our pick? And what would you be off? First off, what are your thoughts about, I mean, we discussed this. We actually discussed this before because of Jahmyr Gibbs and other situations like that. But now that you've heard Chris Greer bring it up, and I don't think it was by accident. I don't think he just said it to say it. I think there was a reason behind the madness. But now that you've officially heard it from, quote unquote, the horse's mouth, what are your thoughts about a possible trade up? And you talked about there's 3 special players to you. Who give me 1 or 2 players, or maybe the top 3, that you would say, okay, if the Dolphins traded up, I'd be happy if it's for that guy right there.
Okay. They would have to really trade up for me to be happy.
Okay.
And that would be Darnell Wright. If I was the Miami Dolphins and I was going to trade up, my number 1 guy would be Darnell Wright in the first round.
That's a right tackle out of Tennessee.
Yeah. And let me tell you, they do not walk over this guy like they do Jackson and everybody else. I'll tell you what, this guy is a beast. He would instantly give to a peace of mind back there. That's one player. The other 2 players, I don't think you would even have to move up to the first round to get them. And that would, you might not. And that would be Osiris Torrance.
Out of Florida, offensive guard.
Yeah, offensive guard. And Darnell Washington, the tight end.
Love it. I love it.
Out of Georgia. So those would be the 3 if I was the Miami Dolphins and I was considering any type of trade up, unless Hendon Hooker's sitting there. If Hendon Hooker's sitting there and we're at 51 and there isn't any skill players there, I'd take Hendon Hooker.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Interesting take. You know what? I would have to.
We need a solid
Your
backup.
former bandwagon castmate is on the same boat with you. If Hendon Hooker's sitting there at 51, he would go Hendon Hooker. So very interesting. And Hendon Hooker is, I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in this draft. I like him a lot. I think he's being slept on. I would not be surprised if he's taken in the first round, but I got a close up look with him since I am in Tennessee. And I think he's a pro-ready quarterback. I love what I saw. So I would not hate that move. And that's not a knock on Tua. That's a smart move if you're thinking, okay, I believe you draft a quarterback every year until you hit on him. And of course, if Tua's injury issues, if that comes up next year, you have somebody right there. I love that thought.
It doesn't have to come up. It's already an issue.
It is.
So you have to address it.
Daniel says, Hank, you're killing me with Hendon Hooker. But I don't know. But hey, here's the thing. And I said this last night, Daniel, you were watching, but I was saying it. Look, the Dolphins are a team right now, and I think a lot of fans are like that too. There are some fans that are going, no, we need all the picks we can get. We don't have enough picks. We only got 4. We need to trade down, blah, blah, blah. Guys, the Dolphins are a team that truly believe that they are on the cusp of making a big leap this year.
Yeah.
They don't think they are a 5-7 picks away. They think they're probably 3 or 4 picks away. That's why they got 4 picks. That's why they traded for a Jalen Ramsey. That's why they traded for a Tyreek Hill. They believe they are just a couple picks away. That's why, if they were trading up, if they traded up into the first round and they gave up the 51st, the 81st, and another player, and you go, damn, that only leaves them with 3 picks, and it's too late. But guess what? Because the Dolphins believe they're on the end. If they trade up for a Darnell Washington, what's the biggest concern on our offensive line right now? I know we could say left guard, but it's right tackle Austin Jackson. Yeah. You wouldn't have to worry about Austin Jackson if you got Darnell Washington standing right next to him.
Nope.
So and in regards of Hendon Hooker, you could say, oh gosh, dude, we don't need Hendon Hooker. We need offense. We need offensive line help. We need tight end. We need this. Well, let's say Hendon Hooker's at 51. That 84 comes around. Okay. And that's Cameron Latou out of Alabama tight end, another blocking pass catching tight end. or a Jared Patterson out of Notre Dame, a guard who could play center, or a linebacker with Henry 2020 out of Alabama. Now you're addressing the needs. Listen, we've been saying this all offseason, at least I have, is that the Dolphins, Chris Greer has been stating this since the beginning, that they are comfortable and satisfied with their offensive line, that injuries plagued them last year, even though they did improve in regards of rankings, that Austin Jackson only played one game. Eichenberg was in and out, and we know what we saw from them. We didn't see anything that made us happier with them, but the Dolphins think that there's something to work with there. They've stated that. They've kind of told you already their plans, and in regards to free agency, they've shown you that they weren't looking really to improve the offensive line. Now, again, they might be blowing smoke up our butts, Hank. But again, so maybe a player falls to 51, a top tackle, and they go, no, we're going to go get that guy. All's good in the world. But again, the Dolphins, I think, are looking at tight ends. They are looking at, how do you call this? Running backs. That's been all over out there. Miami wants to add a couple defensive pieces, defensive line, linebacker.
So I just want to point out so far, Miami has talked publicly.
Yes.
And denied that they need anything at right tackle.
They have.
And have said that they're looking at tight end and have said that they're looking at running back. Is it smoke and mirrors, Bobby?
Like I said,
what's going on?
They could be blowing smoke. But if this is the thing that makes me think maybe they're not, because the guys they've gone out to see, the offensive line guys they've gone out to look at have been later round undrafted free agents. Defensive line, later round undrafted free agents. Running backs, early round, second round, first round. Tight ends, they went out to go see Darnell Washington. They gone out and went to lunch or dinner with Tucker Kraft up in South Dakota State. I know a lot of people bring up Sam Laporta. I keep saying, if it's not Darnell Washington, if Michael Mayer fails, that's a different question. But if it's not Darnell Washington, look at Tucker Kraft. The Dolphins want a guy who can block, who can catch. He's one of those guys. Brenton Strange out of Penn State. Cameron Latou out of Alabama. Those guys that can block and could catch the ball. That's what I'm saying. Miami has shown a lot of interest in regards of draft visits to the running backs and into the tight ends, and have shown interest in defensive line and offensive line, but in the later rounds. That doesn't. Now, the Dolphins have done it before, though, Fish Tank, where they have not officially gone on a visit for a player, and then when the player falls to them, they take them.
Exactly.
So it has happened. So, yes, you're right. Reading between the lines, yes, it looks like this is what they're focusing on, but it has been before where they've gone for a player that wasn't on the visit list or wasn't that they've shown interest in.
I just have a funny feeling that they're more interested in an offensive tackle or a guard
than
they're letting out on, in my opinion, because they obviously need those two on the line to solidify things. But like you said, if you get somebody in like a Darnell Washington, then you're not as worried about Jackson out there hanging with his butt in the breeze. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And, we see what happens with Brendan Shell, who has not resigned yet, but the Miami could be waiting on him to see how the draft plays out. Again, you got Andrew Voorhees from USC who's sitting there. He was injured. He tore his ACL. He could fall. Miami could trade up. Again, and we're talking about running backs. And again, Jahmyr Gibbs, Zach Charbonnet.
Who would you tell me 3 players you would trade up for?
Well, Darnell Washington for one.
Okay.
Man, I highly doubt. I mean, I want to say Jahmyr Gibbs, okay, from Alabama, the running back. I really believe in that kid.
Okay.
But I love bell cow backs. That's why I do like Zach Charbonnet, but I think he'll be at 51. But I want to say Jahmyr Gibbs, but I doubt this guy falls past 10, which is Bijan Robinson. If he falls into the 20s, I hope Miami's trying to move up. But I think Darnell Washington for sure, one of those two backs. And, man, I can't imagine any other player besides those 3. But I could say, I mean, yeah, I would say those 3 right there. Those 3 right there. Give me those 3 guys right there. If you're talking about late first-round picks, Darnell Washington, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Bijan Robinson. One of those 3 guys.
Yeah, well, we know Robinson is not going to be.
No, I highly, highly freaking doubt it. Of course, the draft is very odd. We've seen it every year.
Bobby, throw a tackle in there.
Yeah. I'll say, well, I think Darnell Wright is the correct player. If you're talking about offensive tackle, I know a lot of people say Deron Jones. Our draft person that fits on Sports Network, Michael Vogel, who will be obviously on the draft show with us. He loves Deron Jones from Ohio State, but he's more of a left tackle, 6'7". I mean, huge beast of a dude. I'm down with that. But I think if you're looking at a right tackle, you're talking Darnell White out of Tennessee. You're talking Cody Mock, out of South Dakota. You're talking about those guys who, and
I like Cody Mock.
Yeah, I like Osiris Torrance too. You put him at offensive guard, and you move Eichenberger. You got a starter right there.
You got to trade up to get him, though.
So, yes, you do. So you kind of let this out already, but
I did
with projected right tackle, Chris Greer, obviously talking about a trade up. Well, let me ask you this very quick before we move on. How much would you be willing to give up?
Yeah.
Like what would make you comfortable in a trade up? Because I know we both like trade downs. We want to get as much picks as possible, but we know that the Dolphins are thinking that they are a player or two away from being a legitimate football team, or a team that's on the competing for a playoff or Super Bowl. So, but what would make you comfortable trading up, or that you wouldn't go, damn, we gave up too damn much to move up for that pick?
For me, if we're going to trade up for real. Get something in the top. I'm talking up top.
Interesting. Okay.
Because Miami's set, like you said, they're set to win now. You can trade whatever you got this year. You can trade a first round for next year and move up and get Darnell Wright, and I wouldn't lose a wink of sleep. I could tell you that right now. I would not lose a wink of sleep if they trade up and went and got this man. I just think he's that good. And the only other thing that I see would be the tight end, like I said, or Torrance. But if you're going to trade up, I would say, well, what spot do you want? I want in the top 5. That's where I want to trade up to. If I'm going to trade up, let's trade up.
Well, let's say, for instance, I'm sorry for interrupting, because I think I get what you're saying. And you know what? That is a fair thing. Like, hey, if we're going to trade up, no, go all the way up and go get the guy. Like, okay, so let's say offensive line, for instance. Let's say you trade up to 10, okay, or to 8, one of those top picks. You trade up with 10 and you go, okay, now I don't have to go get a Darnell West. Let me go get a Paris Johnson who could play right tackle, left tackle, guard.
Or a C.J. Stroud.
Another quarterback, that's pretty damn ballsy. If that's imagine that smoke screen, or a Bijan Robinson at that point.
Again,
you know what I'm saying?
Depends on who they want.
Yes. So I'm with you. So again,
it's hard for me to say because Miami hasn't really kind of, like every team, they're not letting on who they really want.
Well, that's what I was saying yesterday with Michael and Evan. Last night was telling them, like, because Evan was like, I don't want to give up 51. I want to give up 84. But you got to be realistic.
Yeah.
It's a second round pick. They're giving up a first round pick. You got to give up the second. You got to give up the first. You probably got to give up a player, whatever, to make that work. And, and that point then, and then at 84, you could trade down from 84 and gain 2 extra picks in the mid rounds. Miami could play around with it. So,
well, I'm thinking,
I'm sorry. Ahead. I was just going to say, if it's a player that the Dolphins think, and then we would obviously be excited about, but if it's a player like you're talking about top 15, top 10, and the Dolphins have to give up 51, a first next year, and whatever, because they believe and we believe they're a cusp away, go for it. I'm not going to be upset about it. Do it.
Yeah, and Darnell Wright's going to go right around 15. He's going to go right around in there. Somebody, because he's not going to sit long. A player like that, Chargers need somebody like that. There's quite a few teams that need somebody like that.
Let me ask you this: is that your number one player right now? If like obviously there's other guys who would be ahead if we're way ahead of the picks. Like if you think Paris Johnson, that dude is the number one guy with Broderick Jones and Peter Skoronski offensive line, but 15 or 51 or moving up, it's Darnell White. Is that like if the Dolphins take him, he's the first pick, you're going to be a happy man? That's your number one.
If they take Darnell Wright and they move up, say they give up 51, 84, and next year's first round or something like that, I'm fine with it.
With Darnell. So that's how much you love Darnell White then.
Yes.
You're buying a jersey of Darnell White as soon as he's drafted.
Right.
Okay, there you go.
No,
Hey.
his last name's Wright.
All right. So that tells you what you think of what our next topic is. So we don't have to go too much on it, but could be smoke, could be not. But Chris Greer during that conference also talked about offensive line. He talked about right tackle and how he's excited for Austin Jackson next year. He's comfortable with Austin Jackson. I'm just going to ask you like this, and we can move on to the next thing. Buying or selling? Do you buy that they are comfortable and they are happy with Austin Jackson at right tackle?
I think they're going to try to do something at tight end to help him.
Okay.
So I would buy it.
Good. Okay. I don't disagree with you just because of the fact that they've been kind of hammering that down for a while. And it's kind of like, if they're going to say that about Tua, I think they're not going to BS the other players. I can't see it being both ways. To some degree, they need to be transparent, like you said, with the organization and the team and everybody, underneath the roof. I'm sure they're letting people know, but I'm sure at the same time they're keeping all that stuff close to their heart. Absolutely. No, and again, but if it's like it's the same thing as, that's our quarterback, and that's saying like, again, Tua's deserve that, that certification, that thing there is that, the way he played at that midseason point, he deserves to be the starting quarterback next year. But the truth is there's no one better you could get for him other than him right now. But as Hank has said, Hendon Hooker, CJ Stroud, if the big trade up, that's where you say, hey, you're my quarterback for now. That's why, it's just what it is. It's the way the NFL is. The same thing. You're my right tackle. You're my right tackle for now. Until I get someone else, you are my right tackle. It's just the way the NFL is.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, if you're sitting at 51 and you don't take Hendon Hooker when you have a quarterback with a history of injuries, I don't know what to tell you. I guess you think that he'll stay healthy all the time, which all quarterbacks get hurt, by the way. I just, everybody's acting like Tua is the only one that ever gets hurt or something, but all quarterbacks get hurt, especially their hands, their fingers. They wind up throwing and hitting somebody's helmet or something like that, or off somebody's shoulder pads, break some fingers. It always happens. And then they're out for weeks because they can't grab the ball to throw it. So for me, that's where I sit with it.
The Back It Up Binge podcast, man. Thank you for tuning in. As always, we appreciate you.
Back it up.
They are in a win now mode. Fill the hole this year. They have a shot going deep. I would fill the need, not the best available this year. So there you go.
Exactly.
That's what we said. They're in a win now mode right now. They're not
What's nice for Miami is there are a lot of players that they can pick for need, like a linebacker, like a running back, a quarterback. I mean, it just goes to the offensive tackle, tight end. I mean, there's so many different needs that they probably can take the best available player.
Well, and that's the thing. Well, that's what I say.
Most of the time.
Where I agree with Back It Up podcast is they are in win now mode. They it's not about, let's get as much draft picks and fill these little holes with these rookies. No, it's like, okay, if we got to move up to go get this player who we think is at the top of our board, the best player on the board who could fit this need, whether it's a tight end, whether it's a whatever, go do it, because they are in a win now mode. They're not in a build mode. They're not in a build up mode.
Well, that's why I say it depends on what you're doing. And
Exactly.
I think we're in win now mode. And like I said, for me, it would be Darnell Wright the whole way. That's who I'd go for. Him or Washington.
There you go. So you and I both would like Darnell's. The top of mine is Darnell Washington. I've been pounding the table for him since the beginning. With there's some other guys I like, but Darnell Washington is my number one player for Miami. I think he would totally change this offense because of the blocking,
completely.
pass catching. And I know, again, people go, oh, but look at his stats. He wasn't much of a pass. Look at the offense he was in Georgia.
Yeah.
That's how he played with Brock
He'll
Bowers.
be in an offense where he's mostly blocking anyway.
Exactly. That's why. So
Crying
that's what I'm
out
telling
loud.
people. They go, oh, I want this guy who could catch or whatever. First of all, Darnell can do that. He just hasn't had the opportunity to do it. But again, we had Mike Gesicki, one of the better pass catching tight ends in the NFL, and did nothing with him. You get the picture? We don't need that tight end. We need a tight end who could block and could catch when called upon. Darnell Washington is used to that. He's used to being a blocker first and pass catcher second. So that's why I think
Back It Up was right, though. Let me just point out, Back It Up was right. No quarterback now, though. I agree. But if there's somebody sitting there that's like Dreamland at 51, Hendon Hooker, that I wouldn't be able to pass on him.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I know.
I just couldn't.
I think that's fair. I understand that point. I get it. There's other positions we can go at that might be, but if he's far and above the best player on the board, again, you could use him as trade bait. You could draft him, and then a team that needs a quarterback that was which you would think they would have traded up ahead of time, you can move him. It's just what it is. So anyway,
I don't see him leaving the first round, but
me neither. So let me ask you this. So when we're going to get to our final mock draft standoff in a minute, but there's a report that came out, and then I wrote about it also on DolphinsThirsty.com, was that the Dolphins are betting favorites to land either Derrick Henry of the Titans or Dalvin Cook before the start of the season. Now, that could change if we draft a running back, obviously, but they are betting favorites right now for both those guys. Let me ask you something, Fish Tank.
Sure.
Is it a foregone conclusion that Miami will add a starting caliber back like a Dalvin Cook or a Derrick Henry before the start of the season?
I think they're going to add a running back. Now, will they be giving up assets to get Henry? Probably not. I don't think they'll be able to get a deal done with Henry. I think the Titans will want too much for an over 30-year-old player, and Miami won't want to give up that much. I know we're in win now mode, and I got that. But I just don't think Miami would give that up. Now, you take the flip side and you look at Dalvin Cook. You wait till the draft is over. You wait till the draft day or whatever. They might be more flexible with whatever they wanted for Dalvin Cook. So you might pick up Dalvin Cook. So I would say the odds favorite would be Dalvin Cook at this point in time, if you ask me who they might pick up.
Got you. I think, again, the draft will determine that. If the Dolphins trade up and draft Jahmyr Gibbs or John Robinson, we're not worried about it. If they go and get Zach Charbonnet, we don't have to worry about it. Whether they draft any running back in the top 2 picks of their draft, they're not going to worry about it. But if the draft concludes and the Dolphins did not draft a running back, yes, the more than likely of the two is Dalvin Cook, I believe, from the Vikings. It's a Cedric Wilson and probably a mid-round pick.
Yeah,
I think we'll get the job done because if he's released, Miami might get a lower deal for him in regards of a trade, because if he's just going to end up released, you want to get something for him.
Give him 84 and Wilson, you're done.
Now, if you're telling me which I'd prefer, again, I would be happy with Dalvin Cook, but I'd prefer Derrick Henry. He's 29 years old, 1,500 yards, 13 touchdowns, two-time Pro Bowler, rushed behind the worst offensive line in football and still ran for almost 1,600 yards.
I thought that was the Dolphins.
Yeah, no, the Dolphins were like 24th. The Titans were 32nd. Ran behind the worst offensive line in football, plagued with injuries, was 1,500 yards, almost 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, one of the best running backs.
I hear you, Bobby, but
hey, hold on. Both cost $11 million next season. Okay, they're about to get one of them. Only 29 years old. Worst of Dalvin Cook, 27 years old, rushed for I think almost 1,100 yards. Was behind against the 13th or 11th best offensive line in football. You put him against this with this. People used to tell me, "Oh, I don't want to go for Derrick Henry because look at our offensive line. He won't be able to do what he does." Derrick Henry rushed behind the worst offensive line, and look what he did. Dalvin Cook rushed behind one of the best offensive lines. They did not have as much yards as a Derrick Henry. So I'd be happy with either one, but give me Derrick Henry every day of every week. Again, that is a that is a team-changing trade. What Tyreek Hill did for the Dolphins last year, Derrick Henry would put the Dolphins over the top next year. Over the top.
Well, if you feel that, then you feel like they should do whatever possible to get Henry.
Do what you need to do to get that deal
But that
done.
leaves you sitting with nothing in the draft.
I don't think it leaves you with nothing. I think if you give up 51 and then pick next year, I think you got 84 and whatever, and you could still mess around with the draft. Again,
still
the Dolphins
think you'd have enough.
The Dolphins are in win now mode. The Dolphins are a player or two away from being a legitimate contending football team, and Derrick Henry could be that guy.
If I was going to trade, I would trade next year's assets. I wouldn't even try to trade this year's assets because you're going to need that 51. If you really, I just really think we either need the tackle or the tight end. You got to get one or the other fixed.
But the tight end, like Marvin Allen has said, again, Darnell Washington is my guy, but even Marvin Allen has said the tight end class is very deep, and it is, and the running back class is very deep, and it is.
Yep.
And that's why, again, you let's say you trade 51 and a pick next year, and you get a Dalvin or a Derrick, and not saying 51 for Derrick, but 84. I mean for Dalvin, but 51 for a Derrick Henry and a whatever for next year. 84, you could go ahead and get a Cameron Latou, tight end, blocking tight end, or go get another tackle with that pick. And we're going to do that right now. We're about to go do the mock draft, and we could keep that on our minds. And Hank, I want to ask you. Yesterday we did a little bit of a challenge. We did a little different.
Okay.
Since the Dolphins talked about a trade up. I'm gonna have to give you the opportunity. I'm not gonna, because it's our draft. We do as we wish. Okay.
Yes.
But what we did yesterday, what I did to them, I said, guys, we're gonna have to do a trade up. Okay, because the Dolphins talk about trade up. Evan tried to trade up all the way up to 15. I don't think it worked. I don't remember exactly how it played out. He kept getting rejected till he finally hit on one. I think it was like 25. I traded up with the Eagles at 30. And I think I had a very good draft. But so you're gonna let me know, hey Bobby, I want to try a trade up. If not, we'll go down to 51 and we'll just let it play out. But I am gonna try to trade up. I'm gonna try to do what I did yesterday with the trade. So I'll let you know now. But I'm gonna let you go ahead first. Okay, let me get this up on here.
Why am I going first? You go first.
Age before beauty, my friend.
No. Your turn.
Okay. All right. Fish Tank wants that. He wants to see what he's up against. I got you.
Yeah, it's your turn. I went first last time.
Did you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go look at the tape.
All right. I'm not gonna look at the tape now. All right. So let me make sure. Let's see if it's up.
Get
here.
rid of us
There
so I
it
can
is.
see
All
what
right.
you're doing.
Yeah, I know.
We don't
Give me a
need to
second.
be seen. There we go.
See,
I
I can figure
Not
this stuff
put
out.
on my glasses and see this.
All right. Let's get me up here. Come on. That's not what I want.
Let's draft.
There
Look
it is. All right, so I'm first. So let me go ahead. I'm going to propose a trade here, and I'm going to stick with the team I traded with yesterday. Let me go ahead and put this up here. So I'm going to trade with the Philadelphia Eagles. I just have a suspicion that if it's a team that the Dolphins trade, it's going to be the Eagles. And I'm going to go pick 30, 51 and a first, Cedric Wilson, and I'm going to get a third-round pick from them next year. So that trade's been accepted. All right, let it play out. And there you go. So it moves up to the 30th pick. And we got some good players on the board. But let me go ahead and see if we got Fish Tank Hank's player when he was taken. Okay, there you go. He was taken by the Jets at 13, Fish Tank. So,
I told you around 15 he's gone.
Okay, so here we go. So we're looking at this pick here. Man, Nolan Smith out of Georgia, edge rusher. I wouldn't sleep on that if he's there at that pick, just because of the type of player he is. But you got Jerron Jones, you got Jahmyr Gibbs, but my dude right there is Darnell Washington. Okay, I'm rolling with Darnell with that pick. So we're going down to 84. So I got the top tight, in my opinion, the top tight end of the draft. The main thing, he could block. You worry about the right tackle, you don't have to worry with that. So let me go ahead. You got a trade here. You got 86 and 157. Oh, well, first of all, I'm rejecting that one. I am taking this deal. I'm trading down 2 spots to gain an extra pick. I'm not trading with the Patriots. Ooh, first off, let me look here. All right, so I'm looking here, and okay, I don't have to do anything else. Let me make sure here. I don't want to. 89 is there. Oh, you know what? I am going to take that deal, Fish Tank. I'm going to trade down 3 spots, but to trade up from 157 to 128. I see 2 players that I'm going to be comfortable with. And right there, I'm getting Jalen Duncan, offensive tackle out of Maryland. I'm going to roll with that. A tight end and a tackle. I'll go ahead and reject that. Oh my gosh. Israel Abinaconda. We talk about Zach Charbonnet. This guy could ground pound all around. People are sleeping on Izzy. I love this kid. He's a thumper, and I'm getting him here. So I got a tackle. I got a tight end. I got a running back.
Search 1. First time video.
All right. So let's go ahead and look here. So where am I in regards to how many? I got 2 more picks here. So let me take a look. You know what? I am going to go. I'll go Cam Jones, linebacker out of Indiana. I like him. And with my final pick, I'm going to check edge rusher and D lineman. Oh, I see my dude's on there, but let me make sure, see if my other guy's on there. Nope, he's not. So that's great. That's okay. I'm going to go Nick Herbig, edge rusher out of Wisconsin. We don't know what's going to happen to Emmanuel Appa, so I'm rolling with that. So Fish Tank, there you go. My final mock draft on Fin's Talk today. Traded up to 30. Got Darnell Washington. You got your stellar tight end who could catch, who could block. You got Jalen Duncan, offensive tackle out of Maryland. Israel Abinaconda, running back out of Pitt. Cam Jones, linebacker. Edge rusher Nick Herbig. So there you go. What do you think, Fish Tank?
I think it's okay. I mean, for me, I'm going to sit at 51 because I know that somebody's going to fall, and I'm going to get a great pick without giving away a number 1.
All right, so there you go. So Fish Tank. That's all right. I think it's pretty damn good.
That's just how I think. I love a trade back.
I got you.
You know, if I'm sitting here, you know what? When it gets to pick 30, hit pause.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm going to have to do my best to do that. Hold on a second. There you go. All right.
That's good enough.
Yeah, it's good enough. Okay. Oh, Darnell White's still on the board.
Look at that, huh? Let's try a trade with the Giants.
All right. Let's go with the Giants here. All right. Tell me what you want to do.
I want to give them 51.80. I want to give them 51. First from next year. And let's give them Wilson. And try 25 and see if that goes.
It's been accepted.
Bam. You know who I want.
Darnell White. So there you go.
Right. It's right.
White. Leave me alone. All right. Hendon Hooker's still on the board. Oh, hey, that would have been awesome.
You know I would have picked them too.
I know you would have. That was epic. Okay. So.
Next. Reject that. Wait a minute. All right, yeah.
Ooh.
Now we have Tucker Kraft sitting right there. Best available player at 69, and I need a tight end.
Gosh, Hank. I'd be flipping out if that was the draft. Dude, if I got Darnell White and then Tucker Kraft one after the other, are you kidding me?
That's what I'm saying.
My goodness.
Yes, right, sir. And now we're going to look at running backs.
All right.
So let's take a look at running backs. I want to see what we have. Vaughn. No, let's see who the best available is right now.
Best available is Moro
Yes.
Ajomo, D tackle out of Texas.
Definitely.
Right behind him, okay, I'm going to pick him. But you got Jarrett Patterson as well, offensive guard, offensive center. I love that kid. But we'll go Ajomo here.
Yeah,
D lineman.
definitely.
You need somebody to play behind Raquan Davis
Mm-hmm.
at 238.
Who we got in running backs?
Evan Hall, he's another hard back, ground and pound type of back.
That's who we want.
All right, let's roll with him. And there you go. So
I was
first off,
hoping McBride would be there, but he wasn't.
that's okay. Hey, you know what though? Those first two picks off the charts. Darnell White at 25 and really didn't give up a lot. I mean, I know people say, the first round pick next year, but 51 a first next year, Cedric Wilson for your starting right tackle. And then just to turn around and then go get a Tucker Kraft who fits your offense, fits the scheme. I think is being slept on in this draft. That's two major hits at the first two picks. And those are two starting
That's
quality
what I
players.
wanted was the two majors coming out. See
There
what
you
I gotta
go.
see what I gotta do just to see what's going on.
I see you.
These are my wife's glasses.
Oh my. All right.
I
So
can't see. My
So there you
screen's
go.
only this big.
So, hey, you know what? The main thing is here is we had two different scenarios. Well, no, we didn't. We both traded up. You said you were going to stick to 51, but you said, no, wait a second. Pause at 30. I paused at 25. Your dude was still there. We both made the trade up. Different scenario. You traded up to 25. I traded up to 30. I got Darnell Washington. You got Darnell White.
Right.
I said White.
It's right.
Whatever. Right.
WRIGHT. Right.
Okay. You're just like Evan now. You're driving me nuts. All right. So, and that's it. And then we got to get running back. You got Evan Hall. I got Israel Bandaconda. I got a tackle, Jalen Duncan out of Maryland. Okay. You got the tight end, Tucker Kraft. So either way, I think there are ways that we could leave this draft very happy for Dolphin fans.
I think either position, if you get Darnell or Darnell, I'm happy.
Either Darnell.
How's
That's
that?
right. Yes, that's right. Let's go offensive tackle Darnell, since I'm going to be throwing upon his last name. Not a quarterback, though. Good call. So, guys, in the comments, whether before, during the show, we're closing out now, or after the show, tell us what you think. Who had the better draft? What would make you smile bigger at the end of the draft weekend? Other than that, thank you all for tuning in to the Finstock Sports Network, Finstock Today. That's Fish Tank. Hey, I'm Bobby Finstock. You can catch both of us each day of the draft, especially a special edition of Finstock Today. Next Saturday, we'll be covering day 3 of the draft, but also talking about the draft picks the day before, and obviously covering the rest of the draft and the Dolphins draft that day. So, Fish Tank, any closing words for you, sir?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for coming out and enjoying their day with us. Hopefully you folks have a great weekend, and fins up.
That's right. Everybody, we'll see you guys Thursday night. We appreciate you. Like, subscribe, and always fins up.